Hey, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tacticalbassin. It's late summer now. I've been getting a lot of emails from guys wondering about the transition from summer to fall. What kind of baits we're throwing during that time of year. You know, for some people that transition time is a very difficult time to target fish, but I found that it's a great time to be out on the water, a great time to be fishing. I try to keep it pretty simple. I just throw a handful of baits. So what I did here is I grabbed the top 5 baits that I throw during that transition, and I wanted to walk you through those baits. The first is going to be the traditional jig. I use a 3/4 ounce pitchin' style jig, but the important thing is just that you're throwing that traditional crawdad profile jig. You know, as we make that shift into the fall, you're going to be seeing a huge shift in the bait fish. They're going to be coming out of the bays, the open water, coming out of those big open water bays, coming up out of the deep water. They're going to be transitioning into the coves, as well as onto the rock. And those are where we're going to be targeting those fish. So the bait's moving up, the crawdads are getting more active, and more importantly, the fish start feeding really heavily before going into the cold water seasons. So that jig, especially on rock, but even around the grass, really just does a phenomenal job in the fall of catching some of those bigger fish. The second bait is going to be the spook, or some kind of walking bait. But the spook, you know, spooks have been around forever, it seems like. Almost everybody throws them, but in the fall is definitely when they shine. The bait fish start getting pushed up, especially when they get into the shallow bays. The bass start to really corral them. There's probably nothing that beats a spook. Those fish get so aggressive. This bait makes so much noise. Walking the dog on the surface, they just cannot resist it. A phenomenal option in the fall. The third one is going to be the glide bait. Everybody, it seems, now has their favorite style of glide bait. It's really not important. Everybody's got their own confidence as to which one to throw, but a glide bait of some kind is definitely a bait that you need to be throwing. It's a great bait because you can fish it slow, you can fish it fast, you can fish it erratically, but when those fish are targeting bait, again, you can get in there, you can have a little bit bigger bait, a little bit of a unique profile that not everybody is throwing, and you can pull the big fish out of those schools. Fourth, the deep crank. Again, fish are on rock, bait fish are moving in, you can reach deeper, you can get those fish that not everybody else is targeting. It's hard to beat the deep crank. Colors, out here where I am, we throw a lot of like the lavender shad, chartreuse shad, even the craw colors. I know across the country you see a lot more of the bright chartreuses, but the deep crank in the fall just puts them in the boat. Last is the lipless. Out here we throw the Lucky Craft LV500. Specifically, that's the one that we really like to throw. Other places, guys are throwing different baits, throwing the red eye shad, throwing one knockers. But out here, that LV500 gets it done. You can burn it in the grass, you get a ton of noise out of it. The other thing that we do with this bait is we rip them. Throw them down to the bottom, not your traditional yo-yo, but a true rip. Throw it down to the bottom, then just hop it up. That bait will jump up and then flutter and settle back to bottom. And then rip it up, settle back to bottom. Very different approach. Gets hammered. It's almost like stroking a jig. Jumps up and then just settles out. They hit that bait so hard. It's just a phenomenal option in the fall. So again, I keep it pretty simple. Those 5 baits, that's what we're throwing that time of year. Absolutely loads the boat, and you can cover all of your conditions. You've got your deep rock covered, shallow grass, all the above, from shallow to deep, and then when you're really trying to get a big bite, you can get the big bite as well. Keep it simple. You're gonna have a great time this fall. Good luck out there. And then I just barely skin hook the tip of that hook so that it's still weedless when it's running through the grass. When it's done right, that bait is hanging perfectly vertically on that hook. So when a fish comes up and eats it, when they impact that bait and hit that hook, it pops it right out, and you can